the 2025 New York Giants mock draft 1.0. Very exciting stuff. Let's go through the parameters of this, I guess you can say. We're going through the New York Giants draft, and in the 1.0 that we've done now for the past 3 or 4 seasons, no trades in the first 1.0. Then the 2.0s, 3.0s down the line, however many we want to do before the draft happens. Also, by the way, happy draft month as we're recording this the night of April 1st. So we'll see how many we do, but after the 1.0, then we can get into the trades, but no trades in the first one. And Alex, I guess let's waste no time and we'll go to the first pick, which we didn't necessarily both agree on, but maybe we can get into that a little bit. It was pick 3 because the Giants obviously keep that no trade, and they pick quarterback Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado, which again is what many insiders are still saying, despite the signings of Jameis Winston and Russell Wilson, the Giants will draft. Now, according to PFF, he's a 91% PFF grade. He's the third best in that category for PFF. And we've already talked about him a lot, so I'm not going to go too in depth on Sanders himself, but 23-year-old, 6'2", 215 pounds, again, out of Colorado, played his time at Colorado, played his time at Jackson State, along his father, who's the head coach, Deion Sanders. He led Colorado to a 9-4 record this past season. It's the program's most wins since back in 2016. He was also the Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year. He finished 8th in the Heisman voting as well. And everyone talks about his accuracy, whether it's deep ball, whether it's over the middle, whether it's towards the sideline. Shedeur Sanders is very accurate as a quarterback. That's his biggest strength, I would say, that everyone highlights, and I'm going to do so as well as I just did. So round 1, pick 3, quarterback Shedeur Sanders out of Buffalo. Alex, your take on this?
Out of Buffalo, Josh. What? I didn't think he was in the freezing cold, but
the
no.
Buffaloes,
the
Colorado
there
Buffaloes.
There you go. Yeah, he saved himself there. Yeah,
that's what I meant.
This scenario, it came up. So obviously Cam Ward went number 1. Abdul Carter went number 2. So I'm sitting there at number 3 in my fake draft room, which is just at my sad desk.
Yeah, I forgot to clarify too for anyone who's new. Alex does the mock drafts, and it's his. Yeah. This is his baby. This is his responsibility. So just an FYI
I sit there. Stare in my fake draft room, thinking I'm a GM.
Which is why I say we didn't agree on this pick because we didn't make it together. But that's okay. We're gonna get into it. Sorry, I cut you off again. Go ahead.
Yeah, but I'm sitting there number 3. It's Travis Hunter or Shedeur Sanders, and based on what I'm hearing, based on what I've read, I just thought Shedeur Sanders was more of the pick right now. That could change in the potential weeks to come, but I think that's where the Giants are going to lean at this current moment, but that could change. And then in the second round, Josh, which I'll transition to now, obviously Shedeur Sanders, not really a win now move, right? You get Travis Hunter, that's more of a winning now. He's going to help your team immediately. Shedeur Sanders, maybe not, because he's going to sit for at least a few weeks. And I look in the second round, and the Giants desperately need a win now move. And what better way to do that and kind of go away from Joe Schoen's emphasis on positional value, which we have seen already this offseason. And I'm going to do that again, spending a premium pick on a running back, Josh. And that running back is Omarion Hampton out of UNC, the pretty clear number 2 back in this class behind Ashton Jeanty. So he is 6 foot 220. So he's a pretty big running back. He's really strong, and he's able to really run between the tackles well. He's got great vision, and he's able to really press the line of scrimmage and get to the line of scrimmage quickly. He's really good burst as well. So I think he's kind of a guy, he's an all-around back. He can be that number 1 back for the Giants and Pro Bowl potential type player. Kind of the lack of explosiveness down the field for him is a bit of kind of why he's fallen a little bit down into the second round here. But in terms of his burst around the line of scrimmage, how he can be so physical between the tackles, I think he's perfect for the Giants and a perfect combo to add next to Shedeur Sanders as well. In the potential future Giants offense. And that's something that Joe Schoen, say after a 7 or 8 win season, can sell John Mara on as to why he should keep his job.
Alex, again, another pick that I'm sort of questioning because the Giants.
This is one of my crazier mock drafts, I will say.
the Giants did draft Tyrone Tracy last year. This was a pick that you would assume was addressing the absence of Saquon Barkley, not to the fullest extent of one of the best running backs, or now the best running back in the NFL. There's no debate about that. But Hampton is a decent pick, and the reasoning for that is because of just how good he was in college. I mean, you look at the past 2 seasons, 1,500 yards and over. He had 1,660 this past year. He averages 6 yards a carry. I mean, that's pretty remarkable stuff. And it's something that we really saw in the ACC out of North Carolina from that running back. And that's why the Giants drafted him in this mock draft in the second round. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, and he's also projected right now to be going in the early 20s, late teens. So the fact that he fell to me here, and running backs do usually fall further than the mock drafts suggest. So it's not totally out of the realm of possibility that he's here. But from the value perspective and the players that were on the board, it just seemed like a no-brainer to me.
All right, moving from round 2 to round 3, 2 picks for the Giants in this one. We'll start out with round 3, pick 65, linebacker Carson Schwessinger from UCLA. I say that 5 times fast. But Schwessinger, I'll say it again, is coming in at 6'2", 240 pounds, a very good athlete. He can cover the ball vertically and horizontally, and obviously that athleticism and speed is really helpful when the Giants will be playing, or when UCLA did play in the past, this past season, the zone defense and running a Tampa 2 or cover 2 man. If he was not on a player and was playing in that zone coverage, he was really successful there. And kind of another player to just add to the depth for the New York Giants, as what Alex did with that second round pick at the running back spot, adding to the depth, doing that again at the linebacker spot. It's players that you know that are familiar to you, of Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden. You'll see them again this year. And Schwessinger is another player that you can add to that mix. Damn, I love that name.
Yeah, and I think my theme in this draft, and I think you kind of see it, except for maybe Shedeur Sanders to begin with, is I just took the best player available at every single spot. I didn't care about the position, and I was just looking at my board, and I said, who's the best guy that's going to help this football team win games no matter the position? And at the linebacker spot, I mean, he's just a very, very good player. Only a starter in 2024, which is something to note, so not a ton of experience. But when he did play, he would just move from side to side. The way he could cross the field, the way he made tackles, his IQ and the defensive side of the ball, his motor, like he is just a really, really good player, and someone who is actually in Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects, and I believe in the 38 to 42 range. And the fact that we can get him here at this value at pick 65, I just thought was a no-brainer. And that was the same for the next player here going later in the third round with defensive tackle Joshua Farmer out of FSU, a slightly smaller, or actually quite big defensive tackle, 6'3", 314 pounds. The next guy's slightly smaller. That's why I was about to talk about. He's a really, really very powerful guy in the pass rush department, and that's where you definitely see the potential with him. He's an average run defender, but in the case that he could really develop in the pass rush game, and he could be like a multi-sack kind of guy, I think that's where you're really looking at him being an elite player. Of course, you're talking at the end of the third round here, so you're not expecting that, but in terms of a guy who has a lot of upside and potential, I think Farmer could be a really, really nice pick, and you could always use defensive line depth in the NFL, and that's something that you keep seeing year after year.
You just talked about Farmer going back to Schwessinger. He was 46 on that Daniel Jeremiah list, down 7 spots from his 2. This was on his 3.0, Alex. Maybe you saw his 2.0, the top 50 prospect rankings. Going from the third round, entering the fourth round, but just 6 picks later at 105, offensive tackle Anthony Bilton out of NC State. Let's go through him just a little bit. Obviously, Belton playing in the ACC. Love seeing the ACC representations in these mock
There's
drafts.
A couple more, Josh, I think.
we'll go through it a little bit later, but he's been improving year in and year out, and that led to a great 2024 season where he had an 87.2 pass block grade, 82.3 grade in those 2 true passing sets as well. The production didn't stop in the passing game either. His run blocking grades were all above average as well. The steady improvement for him, I think that could really help the New York Giants. And the only things that maybe he struggled with was just good competition. When they were playing ranked teams this year, he did definitely struggle as an offensive lineman. So something to note there. But besides that, Anthony Bellin, I mean, you're going to find those guys that might struggle. You're in the 4th round at this point, but that's the Giants select, according to Alex, is offensive tackle Anthony Bellin out of NC State with their 4th round selection.
Yeah, and like you said, Josh, you're never going to get perfect prospects, and there's definitely a lot of technique issues with Belton, but in terms of his sheer size, his power, and his performance in college, I think there's a lot to like. And the Giants definitely could use tackle help. I know they signed a couple of guys, but you can never have enough swing tackles in the NFL. Again, another thing that we've come to learn in recent years. So I like the value at the spot. I thought he was a very decent player, and maybe not a guy who you'll see starting in a year or two, but definitely has potential to be a very high-end swing tackle or a low-end starter at some point in his career. But moving to round 5 now, Josh, this is where I was talking about a guy who's a little bit smaller for the position, and that is defensive tackle Elijah Roberts, only 285 pounds, out of SMU. He is a very, very well-graded pass rusher in college, very good hands, and can really get bend around some of those guards. And he has very good upper body strength as well. But the only negatives for him is in the run game. He's a little bit undersized, so he's not going to be the type of guy who can really stuff the run, and he is not does not have the best technique either in the run department. So again, we're in the 5th round here, Josh. So we're not getting the best of the best. You're not
Could
getting.
say we're grasping at straws a little bit at this point.
We are definitely grasping at straws, and I'm definitely, really emphasizing a lot of the positives over a lot of the negatives here. But that's what you're doing in the round 5, round 6, round 7 area. And I thought, again, defensive tackle depth, you cannot go wrong with that. And he had production in college, and he had a lot of, good film as well that shows some potential for him being effective at the NFL level. There you go, Josh.
Let's go to round 6, pick 219, tight end Jackson Hawes out of Georgia Tech. He is 6'4", and going more into him, a 77% overall, according to the NFL Draft Buzz, and a guy from Salt Lake City, Utah. So pretty interesting there, taking his talents from there to Alex. You mentioned the ACC stuff, Georgia Tech, another school there. The former Highland High School 2-sport athlete then continued his way through 35 receptions for 371 yards. And that was 3 seasons with the Bulldogs, where he actually was looks like he was at Yale before he transferred to Georgia Tech. So for his final year of eligibility in the ACC, he went to Georgia Tech, where his receiving numbers were a modest 16 catches for 195 yards. Again, versatility with him is definitely the name of the game. So good for Jackson Hawes, who is a 4.82 second 40 time, and that was measured at the Senior Bowl this year. So the Giants select him with round 6, pick 219. Alex, the final pick in round 7.
Yeah, final pick here, round 7, 246. And we're going back to UNC, back to the ACC, Josh, with Elijah Huzzie. This guy, a very, very good motor, a very, very productive college career. But in terms of projecting him as a corner at the NFL level, he's just like not that. He's not going to be that guy, I think. And that's kind of the issue you arrive with him. But again, you're really grasping at straws here. And I think you're at 246. You're not going to find a guy who's going to be able to like play on day one. And he's a guy who I think is going to be effective at least, special teams wise, locker room wise. And, Bill Belichick's coming over there now. So I don't know if that brings a different sense of juice there, Josh, to UNC, but I do think there's something to be said there about that.
Yeah, another thing to add about Huzzie too. Well, he got a graduate degree this year, Alex. So shout out to him. He played in his 5th year, and also an honorable mention for All ACC in 2023. So shout out Huzzie. Our final pick again will go through the whole thing one more time. Round 1, pick 3, quarterback Shedeur Sanders out of Colorado. Round 2, pick 34, running back Omarion Hampton out of UNC. Round 3, pick 65. Linebacker Carson Schwessinger out of UCLA. Round 3, pick 99. Defensive tackle Joshua Farmer out of FSU. Round 4, pick 105. Offensive tackle Anthony Belton out of NC State. Round 5, pick 154. Defensive tackle Elijah Roberts out of SMU. Round 6, pick 219. Tight end Jackson Halls out of Georgia Tech. And round 7, pick 246. Quarterback Elijah Huzzie out of UNC. And that concludes our 2025 New York Giants 7-round mock draft 1.0.